Welcome. I am Cassie Premo Steele. I am a writer, poet, and creativity coach. I live here in Columbia, and I had two books just published in the fall of 2010 that I'll be reading from today. This Is How Honey Runs is my poetry book, and it's based on the co-creating work I do both with individuals and in group workshops, teaching writing as a way of healing and bringing about balance and empowerment in our lives. So all of the poems were written in sessions with clients and have the theme of inspiration and healing and moving through our fears, anxieties, and creative blocks in order to co-create the life that we want. I also published a novel called Shamrock and Lotus, and it takes place in Ireland, and it's based on my own family's ancestral history. Both of my grandmothers were from Ireland. In fact, they had the same last name, but spelled differently. And it also has characters from the United States and India and Ireland in it. So it's a story about global family ties and the power of the land to connect us to our ancestors and to our own sense of core and spirit and faith. So I'd like to start with a few poems from This Is How Honey Runs. The first one is called Creating. I ride a red horse but sit backwards. I watch a blue bird land on the ground. I hail a pirate who is leaving. I wear snakeskin, I am shedding. The teacher said, all growth is letting go. Wisdom is gained in losing. This I can do. This I know. I've won awards for losing. What light? What light do you need to be unafraid? Start with a candle, let it light a seed. Then plant that seed, give it water, walk away. Sleep under the moon. Soon what you dream is coming true. Wake to the sun in the window. See the seed sprung up. You are that seed. You are the candle, the moon, the sun. You are the light. You are the water. You are no longer afraid. You have begun. There are 15 ways to create healing. 1, ask yourself who you are. 2, know there is no right answer. 3, listen to the squeaky wheel. 4, grease it for once. 5, enjoy the silence. 6, ask yourself who you will become. 7, know there are many answers. 8, pick one. 9, know you have just begun. 10, start over each morning. 11, ask a question. 12, hear an answer. 13, act. 14, rest. 15, begin again. People often ask me, how do you write? Here's my answer to that. It's called How to Ride. Take out your bike from the cobwebbed basement, dust it off, and go. See that steep mountain? That is your road. There will be places you can't ride. Get off and hike. Sweat if you like. Swear if it gets too hard. But keep going. Soon the road will lean down and you will roll. Feel the wind on your face. This is no race, but if it were, you'd be winning. Happy ending, finish line, your dreams and mine coming true. Sometimes the things that we most want to do seem impossible. So this is a recipe for the impossible. It starts with a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. You must do the things you think you cannot do. Here is what to do, my friend, when your blue anger rises on yourself. Take a break, take a shower, go walking in the rain. Do not let your brain become a monster. Use your heart to bake a cake. Take it deep into the forest in winter and share it with the birds there. Listen to the sweetness of their songs for you. You must do the things you think you cannot do. I tell you, it is the impossible that will see you through. This next poem I'd like to dedicate to my husband, who is here today, and we'll be celebrating our 14th wedding anniversary on Tuesday. It's called What I Want This Poem to Do. Take you out, mid-May morning, blue sky igniting on the last green grass, and teach you the stillness of watching for worms, the way the ground gives clues about what lies underneath, like your heart beating differently during fear. I want to make you kneel in the creek and wait for your eyes to adjust to deep shadowed light. Let you track the footsteps of raccoons and deer, what came here on the way to their sleeping places. I want to lie down with you there, where what is wild does not worry, and words are not necessary, because all that is said runs through the body. I want you to feel the lovely, non-human world. I'd like to read to you a little bit from the novel Shamrock and Lotus. The main character, Claire, is an American woman, the wife of a banker who is living in Ireland. And this takes place in Ireland. Early the next morning, as her little white cottage with the thatched roof came into view, Claire suddenly had the sensation that she was no longer standing on land, as if the great gray blue lake beside the house had swallowed her whole body, and water, not air, filled her chest with each breath. Until then, she admitted to herself, she had not really believed that Michael was gone. For the past 5 months, she had used her poetry, her poetic sense of the world, to deal with her pain as best she could. And while the poems she wrote during that time were important, they had at least kept her feeling. They were not the whole story. So arriving at the steps of the little house, she took off her shoes before entering, as one does before swimming, and then went straight to her bed and stripped it, hanging the sheets over the windows and mirrors, making for herself a dark, wet pool in which to mourn. She unplugged the phone and the stove and the refrigerator. She wanted no artificial humming to distract her from the sound of her tears. And then she sat down on the wooden floor in the center of the house to write. For 7 days she did not move, she did not wash, she did not speak, and only ate and slept sporadically, staying right where she was on the floor, filling page after page with the story of her life, sometimes tossing with dreams of Michael and Miriam and the unknown baby growing within, and then waking to begin again. Sometimes she felt she was going mad. She would hear the wind knocking at the door in the night and feel it was death upon the earth, coming for all of them. In the dark, she would see shadows and shapes in the corners of the room and have to press her hands against her eyes to try to stop the fearful visions. One morning, she swore she could smell something burning. After checking once, it took all her strength to resist the urge to stand and check the stove again and again, certain that someone had plugged it in while she was sleeping and left the body of a small animal in there, perhaps a rabbit, to burn. After 4 days of sitting and writing, she felt hands upon her shoulders at dusk and remembered that this same sensation had come to her upon her confirmation at 13. Then, full of faith, she had believed it was the Holy Ghost. Now, full of guilt, she feared it was an evil spirit come to punish her. She stayed awake all that night, afraid that if she surrendered to sleep, she might not return. At dawn on the 6th day, she tasted in her mouth the distinct and sweet memory of her wedding cake, and she knew that what she had shared with Michael and Padmaj was neither holy nor evil, but simply love. The love between Claire and her husband Michael, their passion, their promise, their dreams and desires and silences and misgivings, all this she tasted fully then. Their love for the daughter they had created and raised together, his love for his work, his individual spirit that propelled him to leave her daily, to reach out to the world, to participate in it despite its painful history, and her love for her friends, Bridget and Padmaj, and the community she was trying to make with them. It was the story of all this love that Claire wrote out clearly on the 6th day of her mourning. On the 7th day, her body finally gave in to sleep, resting deeply from dawn till dusk. She woke at sunset to pink rays streaming in through the sheets that covered the windows of the little cottage, so that the whole place seemed to glow like the inside of a rose. At first, Claire thought she was asleep, and she sat disoriented in a kind of timeless pink dream on the floor. And then she remembered from the last day of Michael's mourning for his mother what she next needed to do. She went to the sink and filled a round bowl with water, took it to the front door, opened the door wide to reveal the sunset on Europe's western shoulder. Then Claire poured droplets of water over each of her hands 3 times. When she was done, she set the bowl down on the front step and went back inside, leaving the door open. As the sky's light turned from pink to orange, Claire walked to the bedroom closet and pulled out a brown paper bag. Without looking inside, she put on slippers and a jacket and stepped back over the bowl of water to take the bag down to the edge of the lake. Once there, she got down on her knees and began to dig into the soft black soil with her hands. The sun's last bit of ruby light fell below the edge of the clear blue lake, revealing one white star that twinkled in the east. When the hole was large enough for her to lay her belly in, Claire opened the bag and took its contents out. Inside were the clothes she had worn to the memorial service for Michael, the black dress he'd given her for her birthday, even her shoes and hose and underthings, and the note from him that she had tucked into her bra, and finally the egg she painted for him, adorned with roots and trunks and the branches of intertwining trees which she carried in her purse to his memorial service and had saved ever since. She laid each object in the ground gently, and as she did so, she no longer felt afraid. Nor did she feel she was burying the past, but it was as if Michael were still there, with her, planting a new future. Once everything was in place, she used the back of her hands to push dirt into the hole, and then she lay her body down beside it, her round belly cradled low against the earth. And then, for the first time in 7 days, she allowed herself to make a sound. Wordlessly and with her face against the cool dirt, she began to hum. It was like a prayer, her song, but she was not asking for anything. She was, with her voice and her body, mixing together the present and history and committing herself to the care and memory of them both. The moon began slowly to rise in the east, coming to meet the star that had been waiting for it. And then Claire rose too and prepared to return home, to give birth to the promise that in this, her motherland, had long ago been planted. Thank you. In case you came in late, I'm Cassie, Premo, Steele, and I have copies of my new novel, Shamrock and Lotus, and the poetry book, This Is How Honey Runs, at the table just inside the door. I'd love to meet you and talk to you, and I hope you have a wonderful day at the festival. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.